make sure that players like what you provide, which is a good product, entertainment. Then, again, make sure that you are well exposed, keep integrity and honesty in your services, such as customer support, because your reputation then will proceed. And it's good to have some good word of mouth out there. Doesn't matter if you have a big player, VIP player, or a small player that just joined. Both of them are equally important in what comes to their own opinion, because the internet is open to everyone. So you just hope that people say good things about you and recommend you for what you do well.
Thanks for joining us. I mean, we already went there, but can you just give us a short explanation of who you are, what you do, and what Branders does as well?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thanks for having me today. It's definitely a pleasure to be able to introduce myself a little bit, talk about what we do, have a pleasant conversation and all that good stuff. My name is Ricardo Ferreira. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to replicate the same accent. My surname has been butchered many times for me to actually care about it.
Is there a surname or?
Yeah, Ferreira is, you can just ignore that part. Call me Ricardo.
Okay.
Call me. Okay. The accent comes from Portuguese origins. I was born and raised in Portugal. Yeah, pretty early in my life, I knew that I wanted to explore a little bit more and see what the world could offer me. So around 2013, I decided to move to Cape Town, South Africa. It was just pure luck. I think it's the appropriate word in this case. Luck that I actually bet, pun intended, I guess, in entering the industry of iGaming. I started in online lottery. I found it quite fascinating. It was something that I was unaware, that many players would be so interested in lottery, in the lottery world. Something that I pretty soon came to realize that it was bigger than I thought. Stayed there like about for 4 years. And then just like the common mortal, I just decided to expand my horizons. And I thought that, casino would be the next big challenge. So I moved to Malta, where I currently live. And opportunity generated opportunity. I worked in previous companies before Branders. Then I joined Branders. It was 2017 as head of retention. Marketing was always my background. And I'm currently the CEO of Branders since January 2023. Yeah, I'm still loving it, I guess.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
And so currently the CEO of Branders, working on the operational side of the business. So, but also a background in marketing. So let's start with the question: how do you stand out in a saturated market?
Yeah, I mean, let me introduce to you Branders which I kind of forgot a little bit what we do and what we actually have. So Branders is an operator. We have 4 casinos, 21 casino, Playground, Casilando, and Slot Planet. Each one is very unique. They were all designed to accommodate different kinds of targets or markets. Let's put it that way. If you allow me the analogy.
Sure.
21 casino is the more, let's bring the topic music, right? We want a different kind of taste and to accommodate people with different kind of tastes. So 21 casino is more like that classical rock, that kind of rock music that everyone kind of likes. It's the cool website, the most balanced website, I guess. Casilando is the more funky. If you're more into pop music, then I guess I would recommend that one. Slot Planet is a little bit more spacey, a little bit more out of the box or different. So I guess that would be more for disco lovers, I suppose. Playground, that would be you. And Playground, I think it has a more mysterious vibe. So I guess you would think maybe you would put yourself in a night club, but for jazz music, the lights dimmed out. It's a little bit more dark and more intimate. Yeah. So these 4 different brands, we operate them the same exact way, but they were designated to accommodate different kind of people because everyone has a different vibe. It's all about the comfort that you have with this style, with that skin, that face, because let's be honest, nowadays, we all promote the same thing, which is entertainment. So it is a reality that the real estate out there in terms of advertising, players just choose whatever they feel like to. There's obviously the
Mhm.
welcome offers and all that kind of stuff, but there's something about the brand and the identity that can resonate more or less to the player, to the
Mhm.
individual. Saturated markets. Sometimes I actually think, are there any unsaturated markets left? That's really what I'm trying to question. But yeah, there were markets that that started that embraced iGaming a long
Mhm.
time ago more than others. I'll answer that question with I guess I'd still believe that there's a place for everyone, with more or less market share and the whole saturation, right? But again, it's about presentation. It's about how, believe in your product and believe that there's a person that will like yours instead of the other. So that kind of
Mhm.
goes along with the line of thought that I was already mentioning it. What we do try to get away from is the cannibalization aspect of things. Not so much right now, which I believe is quite healthy. But yeah, you could see a few years ago that the welcome offers were just insane because industry was just eating itself. You just go completely ballistic with surreal welcome offers just to attract players, and that kind of goes, against what I believe it's, healthy competition out there.
Mhm.
So we never succumb to that. We know our goals. We don't pretend to be something that we are not. We just focus on our direction. We learn with failures. We learn with successes. But we know, where we can go and what we should do, which pretty much we call calculated risk according to the direction that we want. So we
Mhm.
focused on key markets. From a legacy perspective, we have always been very strong in the UK market, which has always been one of the toughest for obvious reasons.
Mhm.
And from there, yeah, we generate certain opportunities when we search for them or when they are presented to us, and we do explore them. But we need to learn how to walk before we learn how to run. So we take things with cautious, but we are very observant. We see what's out there and how we can explore the space again, in a healthy way, at least for us. Now, the key, I think, is persistency,
Mhm.
partnering with the right people. We focus on making the right connections. We define realistic goals as well. I think that's important. And it's also very good, in my perspective, to just keep humble. We recognize our place. But that being said, obviously, we need to have ambition to achieve levels, in this case, of brand recognition and, establish business goals, and that growth needs to go on a sustainable way. Now, things can keep changing. I don't necessarily think that you focusing on just one market is enough, because that can be a very heavy limitation if something happens to that market. So you need
Yeah.
to actually, yeah, open wide, but also be realistic. If you're not really strong and your expertise does not go along with certain markets, just don't put effort where it's, not your strength. Now, the saturation, yeah, it is a reality, but I mean, just do your thing. And again, conquer space. Do, make sure that players like what you provide, which is a good product, entertainment. Then, again, make sure that you are well exposed, keep integrity and honesty in your services, such as customer support, because your reputation then will proceed. And it's good to have some good word of mouth out there. It doesn't matter if you have a big player, VIP player, or a small player that just joined. Both of them are equally important in what comes to their own opinion, because, the internet is open to everyone. So you just hope that, people say good things about you and recommend you,
Mhm.
for what you do well. And I guess that's pretty much, I guess, our mindset. Yeah. And things just go, life goes on.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's what I would say, I guess.
But do you see any difference in market sophistication levels or market saturation levels? And do you have a different approach depending on the saturation level of the market, or is it just let we do our own thing?
No, look, adaptation is obviously necessary. What I just don't like is those empty, vague political words and cliches, because, everyone says, yeah, the world is changing and this is a global village. This is something that you've heard like 10 or 20 years ago, right? Everyone just keeps talking about, the changes and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of people just, just live by that motto, but they don't do really anything about it. Now, what we do is we keep exploring things, not just as plan B, but enlarging plan A. So we don't just kind of fall asleep and accommodate to what we have. The saturation, yeah, it's true. And things do change, but we need to be we need to be able to read the evolution of these markets. And we need to be able to predict some trends and all that kind of stuff. So what can we do to differentiate ourselves from others, or at least to remain competitive and provide what people are looking for? So we know that I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Maybe we'll lose a payment method in whatever country or jurisdiction it is. What we need to do now is already try to keep working every single day to enlarge the portfolio, for example, the payment methods. Like I said, it's to plan ahead to have more now and not just as a plan B, because that really, really doesn't work. It's about, finding our own truth in things. When we try a certain campaign allocated to a market and that really doesn't work, find a better formula. But, we keep our own identity. The saturation, like you said, it's a constant struggle, but it's not only to us. Again, I think there's a space. It's just how you explored and the avenues that you pursued to find your space that's important. Yes, you change a couple of things in there. It can be from a marketing perspective, an acquisition strategy that can change. But ultimately, I think that what wins is definitely the product that you have. And if you really believe it, it doesn't really matter how saturated the market is. You just, people will recognize the value there and now, because a good product, it's a good product everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're in China or in Portugal or whatever it is. You just need to make sure that people will see it and then let them decide, let them judge. But just keep your integrity, who you are, just, the identity. I think it does the work.
Yeah, fair enough. So sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just, if you want another analogy, it's just like us, the core of the person, if it remains intact, it is what it is, but we also change as we grow, right? So it's the same road, we need to walk it. If we fall, we fall. But we need to learn how to get back up again, find adversities, and just explore, how you can overcome the obstacles. And they are real, but they are for everyone.
They are, yes. So mostly just focus on your own product and make iterations when necessary.
Yes. Look, we know our level, but I don't like false, presumptuous attitudes. Like, we don't pretend to be something that we are not, and we just want to be ourselves, and we want, the audience to understand that and believe in that and see that. We don't try to copy things, but we do like to learn with things. But I think that's a common practice, really. If we don't do our homework, and, there's always someone more clever than you that thought about something that you haven't. So it's kind of shared information. And I don't think I don't see it as a problem right now. You just take the learnings and the knowledge that you can absorb out there, and you shape it to your image. And, sometimes you generate something new out of someone else's idea, I guess, but that's how the world works, really.
It is. So what happens when an iteration or a change is needed? How do you balance the risk and maybe also the fear of change in players, but also within the team, and playing it safe at the same time?
Yeah. Okay. That question is always in our minds, because we are, as humans, it's our condition to be, we tend to like our habits. We tend to stay in the comfort zone. It's very hard actually to adapt changes. We create these processes and we like them. I think, we need to risk things. They can be more or less calculated, but that's a whole different level of area, right? Calculated risk in terms of, should we invest more in that country because we can see something there? Look, the data will tell you that, but that's no news to anyone. Regarding management style or the way we operate, again, I don't believe, that what we have in place, or whatever everyone has in place, is at their best possible optimal way. So we do, I think we make our lives more interesting when we take what we have, how we do it, and how we can make it better. Again, this sounds a whole lot of, cliche words and sentences and stuff like that, but it really, really works. I can give you a couple of examples. When I was in retention, I created the worksheets, the way we operated, and this and this and that. And I believe that was, we didn't have that much risk of things going through wrong copy pasting and that kind of stuff. But then I listened to the real users of those working sheets, the real executives. And, by listening to them and their opinions, I did find out that there was a better way of doing things, more efficient, faster, with less risk of mistakes and stuff like that. So I could have easily said, no, we will keep doing it the way I created it, because that's why I created it. It's flawless. And you just started working here recently, so your opinion, counts less. That's just bullshit, to be honest. And I think, you see that you can learn with everyone that worked in the industry or out of the industry, because everyone will bring something fresh. Yes, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you really got to try it. And this can be transversal to business decisions that we make. Yes, complicated changes, for example. We operate worldwide, and India, Latin America. I already mentioned that UK is our strongest market, but we also have a lot of exposure in the Nordic markets, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Canada, New Zealand, etc., etc. Yeah, Sweden, for example. We provide our services in English. That was a change. Did we want to keep retaining that market? Well, there's only one way to find out. It really, it worked well, but we could have just, placed our mindset and our focus in acquiring and retaining in other countries and leave that one a little bit behind. Because that changed it's more to the player, right? Because now they don't see it their own currency and they don't see it in English. But you do have to try it, and you have to be honest with them and say, look, this is the reality of things. But aside from the language, nothing is really going to change. We'll still, provide the support that you need, the fund that you want, access to the campaigns, and everything will remain as it is. Mm-hmm. Regarding another, a harder topic. In terms of change, the complete drop of investing of a country, for example, or even a casino. Sometimes you got to let it go. It's very hard because, people spend hours, days, months, years, effort, tears, creating something, building something, and you create an attachment. And sometimes if it's not working, you just have to, admit it and, release it. Otherwise, you're stuck to something that it's not gonna go anywhere. And then you shift the focus, and that is the change that is necessary. Just knowing how to move on, how to let it go, and grow stronger with that. I think that applies really to everything. Earlier we were talking about how parallel business, and work can be to life, and if you apply the same good principles, ethics, and keep control of things. It's insane how, similar things can be. We just need to be aware, observant, realistic, and strong-minded.
Definitely. But that's interesting. You changed the language to English, but it didn't change anything. There wasn't a drop in amount of users or...
As you can see, I think the product can speak for itself. We didn't know how it was going to perform. But if you communicate it properly to the player, inform them this is what is going to happen, but you create realistic expectations. Like I said, we are not just going to drop you or forget about you if something happens, because then it makes absolutely no sense. I would rather, and this is just a small example, I would rather never, if you don't provide your website, your casino, whatever it is, in the native language, don't try to pretend that you have some sort of native or similarities to their native language. I'm not going to name anything out, but some use like Google translations and all that kind of stuff. That's just so wrong. Just if you cannot do that, just use a universal language like English. But at least, it's consistent and it avoids ambiguity of the message that you're trying to sell. It is just like that. keep it simple, less complex, but just keep it honest. And I think that's why we succeeded in that market, where the expectations, maybe I admit, could have been a little bit low, but no, fortunately for us, the engagement is still there. And, the player loyalty level did not change. So yeah, that was a case of success, I guess, that I'm happy to share. Yeah.
That's very interesting. And why did you decide? It was a switch in language. So previously it was native language, but then you decided to go back to English.
Previously it was in their native language. That's why the mystery about on what would happen ultimately. So yeah, that was a positive. It had a positive impact. That change that we kind of feared, yeah, it worked out for us. Other changes, like I said, there are markets obviously where it's not really our strength. We invested in it. We had to, get some sort of proof of concept. But again, calculated risk. We take these small steps because there's a lot of effort, creating campaigns specified for that kind of jurisdiction. So risk reward. Like I said, baby steps. If you see that there is the potential, then you invest a little bit more. But we don't like to put all eggs in one basket, because if it doesn't work, then you just put way too much effort, way too much investment on something that you didn't really know if it was going to work out. So you just got to be cautious and face the risk, but calculate it slowly.
And you mentioned that you're operating in multiple countries at the same time. UK is the main source of income. I guess that's the proper term for it, but also Australia, New Zealand. So where
Canada and New Zealand. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Are there particular regions where fraud prevention is more challenging, and how do you deal with these issues? Does it change per region at all as well, or?
Look, there's good guys and bad guys everywhere in the world. You know what I mean? So fraud cannot be, simply allocated to a place. Yes, there might be some regions that are more, that can be a little bit more inclined to that. I don't know why. But yeah, there are some regions that have a little bit more syndication, I guess. So groups, that align their forces and their knowledge to cause some harm. Some of them just, have some sort of skills, technical skills, where they can actually be able to hack, not us, but for example, the games themselves, the provider. But that's something that it's a risk that every single company has, really. Well, everywhere that, you can hack whatever it is. And I guess gaming is no different. Every business suffers from the same thing. When people want to cause harm and they have a target, that's what they do. I would not recommend us to just consider that country has more potential for that, because then you might be closing your attention or closing your eyes to another country where some guy, just has the same level of skills and do that. So I think awareness, it's better just to be aware that everything can happen anywhere. And that's the thing. Now you use VPN, sorry. So you can be in one country and attacking another one. So what does it change? Really nothing. The risks, the liabilities, it's really everywhere. I don't like to isolate cases in that sense. In the end, all countries are equal in terms of, we want to make sure that we are safe, and we want to make sure the players are safe from all angles. So yeah, we don't differentiate that. Not at all. I think what changes mostly is not so much the fraud detection. It's more the protection, I guess, which is pretty much the opposite. Yeah, the contingency or the due diligences, they change. For example, the UKGC, yeah, it's quite strict. Everyone knows that. But yeah, all the measures, all the actions that we take to make sure that a certain player is playing, and it's that player and not someone that stole the identity, stole the card. Yeah, that there are regions that are a little bit stronger, but it's more towards protecting the player than us getting hit by some fraud activity. So yeah, the perspective is different. It's always to safeguard the players. We operate according to the regulations that exist, that are not just mandatory for us to keep the integrity of and a secure place for players. to do their thing. But yeah, it kind of differs according to the jurisdiction. But we take this obviously very seriously because there's no other way to actually see it.
No, and you mentioned it before already that sometimes you try to go into a different country, but you make a misstep or it doesn't work, so you have to draw back. Can you share one example of a misstep or maybe even an unexpected success? Or you already mentioned it with changing the language to English in a specific market and what you learned from it.
Yeah. So, for example, Canada and New Zealand, when we localize those, having their own versions of the website with their currencies, etc., and we found the payment methods that they could accommodate or that we could accommodate to them. And now these are countries that, they are not in the European sphere. So their time zones are completely different. So we have to, separate the marketing efforts. Something as simple as, for example, the send out times that they have to be different. The offers, to be fair, they need to have the same length. So they need to start in a different kind of period. So these are little things. They require time, they require dedication, human resources, everything that needs to allocate that to actually, make sense, to customize or put some customization in our marketing actions. Canada and New Zealand, in the beginning, we didn't see much coming out of it, which I don't want to call it a contradiction to what I said before, where if you don't see something happening, then you should drop it. No, you also need to give it a fair amount of time for it to start, moving or growing or moving something. So it took us quite a long time, but once it engaged, it just engaged. So I guess what I'm trying to say is we need some patience as well. We need to not just quit. If something is not working there, you might need to, go back to the drawing board and see what you're missing out. But look, if you start something from scratch, better also not go in the dark. So, again, learn from what's out there, see what the experts in that market are doing and, learn from them. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If that's the direction that you want to go. And if you want to, tackle that region. But yeah, you gotta study the consumer. You gotta maybe change a couple of expressions here and there. Culturally, things are a little bit different as well. Some countries might be a little bit more reserved. So the approach has to be a little bit different, I guess, what comes to, a more friendly or formal or informal type of language. So you kind of learn how to read these things as you go, and minor tweaks in there can take you a long way. So with those in place, eventually we started seeing some really good traction in these countries, and we started growing them. This just started booming. But yeah, you learn as you go, and you adapt to them. They also adapt to you. It's kind of a relationship there. So those two cases, I consider those successful. Things that I can admit that we still struggle, but again, it's because of differences and focus. It's still quite fresh to us, the Latin American market. So we are currently operating in Argentina, Chile. Unfortunately, for example, I cannot see Peru as a success story. We had to drop it a while ago. Again, the jurisdiction required things that we were not willing to pursue in terms of licensing and all that kind of stuff. So it just didn't make sense for us business-wise. So yeah, there was a lot of work, a lot of customization, a lot of effort that was just lost. But one battle at a time. And as a chess player, sometimes you need to sacrifice a pawn to win the opponent. If you understand what I mean, you just gotta let it go.
Only
it doesn't work.
Only Magnus Carlsen can win all of the games.
Yeah.
and Alexander the Great.
Yeah, and Alexander exactly.
But what iterations did you make in the Canadian market for it to succeed?
The iterations. Okay, so pretty much the campaigns that we have, we try to make them. I'm not saying that we are like psychologists, okay, but we do believe that there are trends in the behavior, right? If again, like I said, a good product is a good product. So, but we are also very aware that, yeah, we can do some customizations. Look, at a game level, for example, Canada, they cannot play every single provider that exists. Some providers just don't operate or just are not accommodating that country. So we need to select something that first is available, second that they actually like. And then, yeah, I think then data does its thing, and then we study what kind of games they like, and then, yeah, we are very keen on, again, in terms of educating the players of what we are and what we have. We'd like to remind them why they are there in the first place. It shouldn't be for the best offers in the world. It should be because of the fun that they can have in there. It's about playing casino games. That's why we have these things. So yeah, from a product perspective, we focus on showing them the games that they like, the games that maybe they would appreciate that they don't know of. Again, we need to be aware also of their habits, I guess. Some players from some certain countries, they like to have their fun times at a certain time. Some in the morning, some at lunchtime, some at night, etc. So we also got to learn from the players again, when is exactly that they like to play, not only for marketing purposes, but also for awareness, because if something happens, we need to have a customer support that is prepared, if something happens, that most players from a certain region, Canada, for example, or New Zealand, that, the majority is playing at a certain time. And maybe at that time we are, asleep according to our own time zone, but someone should always be present in there to help them with whatever they need. So I think that's very, very important. It's just, again, just like every service, when something happens and your internet goes out or something like that, you should expect someone to help you out. It doesn't matter when it happens. And yeah, we keep that in mind. And I think that is, what defines a good service and pleases a player from whatever region it is. And just like Canada or New Zealand, it's the same mindset, it's the same principle across all the jurisdictions, really.
Yeah, there's a standard list you go through in order to say, if we finish this list, then we should probably decide if it's not working, and we should quit in this.
Yeah, look, we got to be realistic. Exactly. And we know our limitations. If I would love to have, everyone would like to, be the best in every single market. Is that really true? I don't really think so. I think, we have our strengths, and the people behind the operations, if they do something unique, some players will like it. Some players will not like it. The campaigns that we do, the style of things, or the kind of engagement that we have, just like everything in life, it's good for some, and it's good. Things are always subjective, right? So we cannot accommodate the whole world, but we are happy to accommodate some part of it. It's our philosophy, again, to understand what in general, the human person, the normal human would like, and we just keep it simple. We did some things in the past that did not really work because we tend to get excited. Hey, what about this? And they do this mission, and after this mission, they have to do that. But I think life is already complicated as it is. So what's the point in complicating something that should be fun? So we kind of now learn with that. We learn with the mistakes, and we just try to keep it really simple. Yeah, there's simplicity in innovation as well. We just, but things should be grounded. There's a couple of examples that work really good for me. If we enter in the innovation sphere, that can accommodate every single country, because again, I think people like it, user friendly. But yeah, the Netflix, the Netflix platform, right? It's fun. It's easy to use. It's there. It shows you what you want to see, what's available. And it's very easy as well to see what other stuff is similar to what you already like. People also view this. This is new. This is what we recommend. Did you like this? There's more. Yeah, the flow is genuine. It's natural. And it's so simple and yet so sophisticated. And that's how we think. And that's how we try to innovate. It's just, keeping it stupid simple, like people say. And we like it that way.
Yes, so you have to pick your battles. Let's end the episode with that. You have to pick your battles strategically. Absolutely. So that you can win all of them, just like Alexander the Great.
So they say. We always said we were not there to see it. We need to believe in
No.
the books.
Well, I'm happy to believe it. Or thank you for joining us.
It was my pleasure. And looking forward to the following episodes. I'll stay in touch.